Hey fam, welcome, welcome. Here we flow. Let's talk about agreements. Let's understand them as foundations and deep rooted commitments that we have and ways in which we organize our knowledge, our wisdom, and our experience. Many of our decisions, choices, energies we interact with are because of the agreements that we have underlying because these agreements come from different times in our lives and they get stored in our subconscious. So they are being deeply reflected in our mind, body, and our soul. Agreements are commitments and they are present in every way that we understand life. We may know agreements as coming between two people, but that's not their essence. Their essence is a way to interlock ideas and to make something happen, right? When we make an agreement with someone, we're making something happen. When we're making agreements with ourselves, we're making our life happen. We're creating our life through these commitments, through these loops closed. And in that way, energy is constantly flowing through them. Being able to make new agreements is one of the blessings of this experience because we're not tied down to the agreements that we've once had. Also, many of these agreements were not made by us. They were passed down to us. They were given to us. We were trained to hold true these agreements. As we wake up in consciousness, we can pay attention to which agreements we have that are not resonant, that are not aligning. There is a process to this as well, and it can kind of go two ways. We can undo agreements, and inevitably we must make new agreements. The way that we undo agreements is that we pay attention to the way that they are not resonating with our lives. We notice the way that we join conversations that are not high vibrational. We notice how we're making choices that hurt us instead of help us. When we do that, we're noticing the fact that we have to take responsibility in that way. Just to notice it, we can't put it off as, a slight misjudgment or something as such. We must fully take responsibility for it first. That's the undoing. And when we notice that, we have to agree to a new commitment that will redirect our life in a way that is resonant and fulfilling. It's kind of taking that energy, breaking its cycle, and then remolding it into something that is new and fresh and consciously created by us. Little by little, when we start really rewriting our agreements, we will notice a change in ourselves majorly. It takes time, but when we can make agreements to take care of ourselves, to honor, they can be as specific and as broad as we need them to. It's just super important to pay attention to this because many a times the way that our life is playing out comes back to what we've agreed upon to be true. Maybe we agree that as you get older, your body starts hurting. It doesn't matter how old you are. If you make that agreement, it's going to play out. And this is a perfect display of our power too. When you can play around with it, make one agreement with yourself today, truly commit to it, open yourself up to it, and see how it plays out. Now, once you do that, recognize that there are many agreements floating around up here and here, all around, and that we have the power and the responsibility to tweak those that allow our external reality to be more fluid, flowing, safe. Get creative, get true, really allow yourself to practice being genuine in this way. What do you really need? Where are you really lacking? Where is life feeling unfulfilling? You don't necessarily have to make an external change. When you start inside, it will lead you to a way to make the most uplifting external change. Only then should we take action in this case. And I just want to talk about a couple agreements that I have experienced that I've been able to shift. For example, with practicing yoga, I made an agreement that I had to be fully present and open to experience this amazing release in my body. When I made that agreement, I realized I had the agreement that I had to be able to dedicate an hour of my time. I had to be in a proper headspace to participate. That came up. That was blocking my conscious agreement from fully blossoming because it did not connect or resonate with this other agreement that I had had. And through that experience, I undid that agreement about being in a proper headspace or having so much time, and my practice just blossomed. It really allowed growth. Many a times we're inhibiting our own growth through these agreements. Another example I'd like to share is that I felt that I was only worthy of my Zen when my day reflected that. I wouldn't meditate if I smoked a cigarette or had said something rude or had a fault in judgment or something as such. And that was a really deep agreement that I had. And I believe that many of us have this when we're working to create better lives for ourselves. We have these agreements that tell us, well, we're not worthy of doing that because we did this. Very powerful one as well. We're always worthy. And by tapping into this powerful realm of agreement, we can unearth and uproot these agreements that are not funneling abundance. If it works better for you, just start making more powerful agreements. I explained that kind of process in the beginning about undoing and then redoing. You can create and then destroy. You can start making new agreements in your life. What do you need? What do you want to agree on? And then once you start doing that, you will meet the agreements that are not resonant, and therefore you can break those habits, break those connections, and take that energy back. That's what's really happening is energy is getting sucked into these almost whirlpools, and they're creating a ripple effect that we see play out in our lives. And in many a times, agreements have to do with our identities as well. We identify as a certain way, a certain being, as certain characteristics, and that inhibits our growth too because we're constantly changing. You know, if your identity doesn't change, you're never going to change. We're never going to change. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing that we can really comprehend. And you know, it's simple. I feel as though this is pretty simple to tap into. Of course, you can read the 4 agreements, you can listen to TED Talks about agreements, but overall, realize that you make agreements with yourself, and through those agreements, you experience life. Those commitments that we have subconsciously are the dictators and the coordinators of our decisions, our choices, our acceptance. And when we take the time and take that responsibility seriously, we can really make minor, minor changes that will ripple out major, major vibrations that we have been craving our whole lives. You have the power to do it. We all have the power to do it. I have the power to do it. And it's a constant doing because we're constantly changing, constantly growing. And we want to discard what's not flowing with that, what's not allowing that fullness to come online, what's blocking out the energies that we need in order to become who we are, to be more of who we are. So, as we wrap this up, make one agreement with yourself today. And if you're feeling saucy, write down all the agreements that you have with yourself. They'll start flowing too. You know, you'll be conscious at the beginning, but then if you really allow yourself to get in, your subconscious agreements will start coming up. They may be ugly, they may be dirty. Baby, we all got them. Only by sitting with them will you heal them, will you be able to change them. And that's exactly what you're trying to do. I love you, dear ones. Thank you for being here, the Earth and I family. Dream come true. If you'd like a personalized story, I'm caught up, so feel free to submit one on the website, connect on Instagram, and I'll see you guys in the comments. All right, until the next one, my loves.